Have you ever heard something like you only use 10% of your brain, or that psychologists mainly only deal with therapy and that's the only job that they can have? Or maybe you've heard that children are more likely to stay up all night if they've had some kind of caffeine or sugar before bed, like chocolate or soda, so it caused you some sneaky late night snacks as a child. These statements are actually all myths that I'm about to uncover for you all, and you may be shocked to hear some of these because they are things that you've been hearing for maybe many years now. We are all guilty of being that friend who is gullible or maybe a little ignorant at times, and we just believe everything we hear without questioning our peers because they must have evidence to prove their point, right? Or maybe they have just never been wrong before, so we shouldn't question them. Well, I'm about to give you the cold hard facts behind these myths of psychology and prove many wrong that you may have not questioned before. Brain use actually differs depending on the person. Your brain actually acts different in certain situations, and it may not be as active during different times. So, of course, it is a myth that we only use 10% of our brain. If you believe this myth, don't feel bad though, because the study showed that 65% of people in the US also believe this. Our brains are actually a lot more active when we are sleeping. Have you ever heard that old people are depressed or lonely? Maybe you've been worried about grandma because she only has her cats and you're worried she's lonely and depressed without everyone else around. Well, this is actually not true. It's a proven fact. Many people are actually happier with age. One study suggests that the average 83-year-old is just as happy and content with life as a 23-year-old would be. So don't worry so much about grandma. She's probably living it up with her cats and loves not being bothered by many people. But I'm sure she adores your visits every time. How about that sex life after you've been married a few years and had a couple kids? It goes down the drain, right? That's what everyone says, so it must be true for you and your hubby as well, right? Well, that's another myth. The National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior stated that men and women in their late 20s and early 30s are having more sex than people in other age groups. So don't worry that you have a mom bod now, and you think your hubby isn't going to feel the same sexual attraction to you that he used to. He probably thinks you're even sexier now than he ever did before. So don't stress about it. Everything will be a-okay. Another thing that might be interesting to you that you've probably heard many times is sugar does not make children hyper and inattentive. There's actually no compelling evidence that this is true, so don't worry if your child had a few pieces of chocolate or soda before bed. It will most likely not affect their sleep schedule in any way. Also, letting them consume a cup of coffee before school or having candy as a snack will not make them run wild or act out. In many schools, teachers give these little tests to determine what kind of teacher or learner their students are. I'm sure some of you remember those quizzes where the teacher gives you some questions or some statements and you have to rank 1 to 4 on how these apply to you and then tally it up at the end and maybe show that you're a kinesthetic or auditory learner. Well, teachers believe that these quizzes will tell them whether their students are kinesthetic, auditory, or visual learners. That means that maybe they learn better by hands-on, or they learn better by the teacher talking to them, or showing them. People believe that knowing which type you are will help you know when, where, and how to study. So maybe if you're a visual learner, you have to see things written down on a board, or you have to write them down yourself and read them over and over again. And that's how you get to study properly. This may seem like a shock, but these are actually not true. Although we have different skill sets and interests, there's actually no compelling evidence that we possess specific learning styles. So I hate to break it to you, but those quizzes were nothing. I'm sure many of these things are actually kind of a shock to you, and you probably think, wow, what a waste of my time. But maybe it wasn't. I hope this clears some things up about your beliefs and the things people tell you. Maybe it'll help you realize that not everybody is telling the truth, and you should probably look up evidence if you don't believe what people are saying, because not everybody looks up in the books or online before they tell people things. They just believe what they hear and repeat it on. I appreciate you looking into my workshop and staying to hear what I had to say. Once again, I really hope this benefited you in some way. Thank you.